The drone's camera clicked one final time before Sarah Martinez grabbed it from the sky, her knuckles white with rage. 3 years of Karen's harassment had led to this momentous property dispute that would expose secrets neither woman expected. But when Sarah discovered what Karen had really been photographing all along, the mechanical whir of rotors cut through the humid August afternoon like a swarm of angry wasps, and watched the small drone hover directly over her backyard. "Again, that's it," she muttered, yanking off her gloves and marching toward the house. Whitmore had sent her drone over the fence that separated their properties at 47 and 49 Maple Street. 3 years of escalating harassment, 3 years of HOA complaints, 3 years of Karen's entitled behavior, and now this. Sarah burst through her sliding glass door, nearly colliding with her husband Miguel, who was coming out with 2 glasses of iced tea. "Whoa, what's got you?" Miguel started, then followed her gaze upward. "Oh, hell no, not again." The drone circled lazily above their freshly demolished pool area, its camera lens glinting in the sunlight like a mechanical eye. For 2 weeks, Sarah and Miguel had been working to remove the old above-ground pool that had dominated their backyard for the past 5 years. The kids had outgrown it, the liner was shot, and frankly, they were tired of the maintenance. But apparently, Karen Whitmore had other ideas about what constituted acceptable backyard aesthetics. "She's recording everything," Sarah said, her voice tight with frustration. "Every single day since we started the demo. I can't even exist in my own backyard without that thing buzzing overhead." Miguel set down the glasses and crossed his arms, his jaw clenched. "This has to be illegal. You can't just spy on your neighbors. She cares about control." Wearing a crisp white polo shirt and khaki capris, despite the oppressive heat, even from 50 feet away, Sarah could see the smug expression on her neighbor's face. "Sarah," Karen called out in that saccharine voice that made Sarah's teeth ache, "I hope you're planning to landscape that eyesore properly. The Homeowners Association has very specific guidelines about yard maintenance." Sarah's hands clenched into fists. "My yard is fine, Karen, and it's none of your business what I do with my property." "Oh, but it is my business when it affects property values," Karen replied, her voice carrying that condescending tone she'd perfected over her 6 years of making other people's lives miserable. "That's why I've been documenting the, shall we say, interesting choices you've been making back there." The drone dipped lower, its camera obviously focused on the area where the pool had been. Sarah could see the small red recording light blinking, like a malevolent eye. "You need to bring that thing down right now," Miguel called out, stepping forward. "You're invading our privacy." Karen laughed, a sharp sound that reminded Sarah of glass breaking. "Privacy? In your backyard? I'm on my own property, and what I do with my drone is perfectly legal." Sarah had endured 3 years of Karen's harassment, the complaint letters to the HOA about their excessive Christmas lights, the calls to the city about their loud children playing in the yard. This was a violation. "Bring it down, Karen, now." "I'll do no such thing," Karen replied, her chin raised defiantly. "I have every right to." Sarah didn't wait for her to finish. Years of playing volleyball in college had left her with excellent hand-eye coordination, and the drone was hovering low enough to reach. She jumped, her fingers closing around the small aircraft with a satisfying thud. "Hey!" Karen shrieked. "You can't do that! That's destruction of property." Sarah held the drone firmly, her thumb hovering over what looked like the power button. "And what you've been doing is harassment and invasion of privacy. Pick your poison." The drone's rotors whined as they tried to spin against Sarah's grip. She could feel the small device vibrating in her hands, its camera still recording her face from just inches away. "Put it down this instant." Karen's voice had reached a pitch that probably bothered dogs 3 blocks away. "That drone cost $800. Should have thought about that before you decided to turn it into a spy camera," Sarah replied calmly. "Miguel, call the police. I want this documented." Miguel was already pulling out his phone, but Karen's voice cut through the air like a siren. "You're destroying my property. Your property that you were using to violate our privacy," Sarah countered. "Which is illegal surveillance." Karen's face had turned an interesting shade of purple. "Surveillance. I was merely documenting the deterioration of neighborhood standards. That disaster zone you call a backyard is bringing down everyone's property values." Sarah looked down at the area where their pool had been. Yes, it was torn up, Yes, there were some muddy patches and scattered debris, but it was their property, and they were in the middle of a legitimate home improvement project. We're landscaping, Karen. It's called a work in progress. You've been working for 2 weeks. At this rate, it'll look like a construction site until Christmas. So what if it does? Sarah's voice rose despite her efforts to stay calm. It's our yard. Karen's eyes narrowed. Everything in this neighborhood is my business. I'm the president of the Homeowners Association for a reason. I maintain standards. You maintain control, Miguel interjected, his phone still in his hand. There's a difference. Control. Karen's voice rose to match Sarah's. I ensure that this neighborhood remains a place where decent people want to live. I protect property, values. I keep the riffraff out. The way she said riffraff, while looking directly at Miguel, she'd suspected Karen's harassment had racial undertones, but this was the first time the woman had been so obvious about it. Excuse me. Sarah's voice was dangerously quiet. Karen seemed to realize she'd gone too far, but instead of backing, standards, expectations, the kind of people who maintain their properties properly. The kind of people, Sarah repeated slowly, or the kind of people who look like you. Karen's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. I don't know what you're implying. I'm not implying anything. Sarah's grip tightened on the drone. You've been harassing us for 3 years, and it's not about property values. It's about the fact that you can't stand that a Mexican-American family lives next door to your lily white. I am not a racist. I have black friends, Miguel snorted. That's exactly what a racist would say. Karen's face went from purple to red. Sarah's voice could have cut glass. Keep talking, Karen, please. I'm sure the police will find this very enlightening. As if on cue, the sound of sirens began to echo from the front of the neighborhood. I didn't call them, Miguel said quickly. But someone did. A police cruiser pulled into the driveway of 49 Maple Street, and Sarah watched as Officer Jennifer Chen stepped out. Sarah knew Jen from their kids' soccer league. She was a no-sense cop who dealt with neighborhood disputes before. Something about a drone. Karen immediately launched into a theatrical performance officer. Thank goodness you're here. This woman has stolen my drone and refuses to give it back. She's destroyed my property. Officer Chen looked at Sarah, who was still holding the drone. Is that accurate? Partially, Sarah replied. I did take her drone out of the air, but only after it had been flying over our property for the 3rd time this week, recording us without our consent. It's not illegal to fly a drone, Karen interjected. I was on my own property. Officer Chen held up a hand. Ma'am, I'll need you to calm down so I can get both sides of this story. She turned to Sarah. Can you walk me through what happened? Sarah took a deep breath and began explaining the 3 years of harassment, the daily drone flights, and the obvious surveillance. As she spoke, she could see Karen's face growing redder and redder. She's lying, Karen burst out when Sarah finished. I've been documenting legitimate HOA violations. Someone has to maintain standards in this neighborhood. What kind of violations? Officer Chen asked. Karen gestured wildly at Sarah's backyard. Look at that mess. They tore out their pool and left it looking like a construction site. It's been 2 weeks. Officer Chen looked at the backyard, then back at Karen. Ma'am, are you a member of CityCo? Officer Chun's expression hardened as she studied Karen's increasingly pale face. Ma'am, I'm going to need you to cooperate fully here. How long have you been recording your neighbors? I haven't been, ... Karen's voice trailed off as she realized the futility of lying with the evidence literally in Sarah's hands. The drone has a live streaming capability, Miguel observed, examining the device more closely. Look at this little indicator light. It's been broadcasting this entire conversation. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. Broadcasting where? Karen's silence stretched on until Officer Chen stepped closer to the fence. Ma'am, I can get a warrant to search your devices, or you can cooperate voluntarily. Which would you prefer? This is harassment. Karen finally exploded. I'm a respected member of this community. I volunteer at the library. I organize the neighborhood watch. That's not an answer to my question, Officer Chen replied coolly. Where is the footage being stored? Sarah noticed that several other neighbors had begun to emerge from their houses. Drawn by the commotion, Mrs. Rodriguez from across the street stood on her porch, her arms crossed. The Johnsons, from 2 houses down, had stopped their evening walk to watch the drama unfold. Even old Mr. Peterson, who rarely left his house, was peering through his front window. "Karen," Sarah said quietly, "just tell the truth. How long have you been watching us?" Karen's composure finally cracked completely. "Fine. Yes, I've been monitoring the neighborhood. Someone has to. Do you have any idea what goes on in these houses when people think no one is watching?" Officer Chen and Sarah exchanged glances. This was getting worse by the minute. "What exactly do you mean by that?" Officer Chen asked. Karen gestured wildly at the houses around them. "The Patels leave their garbage cans out for 3 days after pickup. The Hendersons haven't mowed their lawn in 2 weeks. And don't get me started on the music coming from the Rodriguez house during their family gatherings. You've been spying on all of us," Mrs. Rodriguez called out from across the street, her voice carrying clearly in the evening air. Karen whirled around. "It's not spying. It's community oversight. Someone has to maintain standards. Jesus Christ." "Karen," came a voice from behind them. Sarah turned to see Tom Henderson approaching, his face flushed with anger. "You've been watching our house too. Your property maintenance is substandard." Karen shot back. "Your hedges are overgrown, your driveway has oil stains, and your teenage son plays music too loud." "My teenage son has been at summer camp for 3 weeks," Tom replied coldly. "So whatever music you think you heard isn't coming from him." Sarah watched as the implications of that statement sank in. If Karen had been this wrong about something so basic, what else had she gotten wrong? And more importantly, what had she been recording that she thought was evidence of wrongdoing? Officer Chen was taking notes now. "Ma'am, I need you to understand the seriousness of this situation. If you've been recording people in their private homes or yards without consent, that's a criminal offense." "I never recorded inside houses," Karen protested. "Only yards. Only outdoor areas." Only Sarah's voice rose. "Only our private outdoor spaces where our children play, where we relax, where we have barbecues and family time. It's not private if I can see it from my property." "Actually, ma'am, that's not correct," Officer Chen interjected. "Privacy laws protect reasonable expectations of privacy, even in outdoor spaces on private property. And using a drone to enhance your view definitely crosses that line." More neighbors had gathered now. Sarah could see the Patels, the Hendersons, the Johnsons, and several others she recognized from neighborhood gatherings. All of them were staring at Karen with a mixture of disbelief and anger. "How long?" Mrs. Patel called out. "How long have you been watching us?" Karen looked around at the growing crowd of neighbors, her earlier bravado crumbling. It wasn't. Like that I was, just ... the neighborhood watch." "The neighborhood watch doesn't involve spy drones," Tom Henderson said flatly. "That's stalking." Officer Chen closed her notepad. "Ma'am, I'm going to need you to come with me to the station. We need to examine your devices and determine the full extent of this surveillance." "No," Karen's voice cracked. "You can't." "I have rights." "Yes, you do. You have the right to remain silent, and you have the right to an attorney. You also have the right to cooperate, which I strongly suggest you do." Sarah watched as Karen's world began to collapse around her. The woman who had spent 3 years terrorizing her neighbors was finally facing consequences for her actions. But as Officer Chen began to escort Karen toward the police car, Sarah's phone buzzed with a text message. Then another, and another. She looked down at her screen and felt her blood run cold. The messages were from numbers she didn't recognize, but they all contained the same thing. Video clips. Videos of her family in their backyard. Videos of Miguel working in the garden. Videos of their children playing in the pool before they'd taken it down. Videos that had clearly been taken from multiple angles, not just from Karen's property. Officer Chen. "Sarah," called out, her voice urgent. "We have a bigger problem." The officer paused, Karen's arm still in her grip. "What is it?" Sarah held up her phone, showing the messages. "I'm getting videos of my family, from multiple angles. This isn't just one drone, and it's not just Karen." The crowd of neighbors fell silent. Officer Chen released Karen's arm and walked back to examine Sarah's phone. "These were taken from different heights, different positions," Officer Chen observed. "Someone else has been recording too." Karen's face went from pale to ashen. "That's impossible. I only have one drone." "Then who took these?" Sarah demanded, scrolling through more messages that kept arriving. Videos of their demolition work, videos of their children, videos taken at different times of day, over what looked like months. I don't know. Karen's voice was barely a whisper. Officer Chen was studying the videos more closely. These metadata stamps go back almost a year. Ma'am, are you telling me you've been recording for that long? No, I only started with the drone 2 months ago. Sarah felt sick. Then someone else has been watching us. Someone else has been recording my family. Miguel moved closer to his wife, his face grim. The videos keep coming. Look at this one. The video on his phone showed their backyard from an impossible angle too high to be from a neighboring property, too steady to be handheld. It was clearly taken from another drone, but not the one Sarah was holding. There's another drone, Officer Chen said grimly, and whoever's operating it has been at this much longer than you, ma'am. Karen looked genuinely confused and frightened. Now, but I thought I was the only one monitoring the neighborhood. I never saw another drone because they were better at hiding it than you were, Sarah realized. They've been watching us, and you never even knew. The implications were staggering. While Karen had been conducting her obvious harassment-based surveillance, someone else had been running a much more sophisticated operation. Someone who had been recording Sarah's family for almost a year without detection. Someone who was still out there. Officer Chen immediately got on her radio, calling for backup and a technical team. We're going to need to expand this investigation. Someone else has been conducting illegal surveillance in this neighborhood, and they're still active. Sarah's phone continued to buzz with new videos. Each one showed intimate moments of their family life that should have been private. The children playing, family barbecues, quiet evenings on their patio. Miguel asked, his voice tight with anger and fear. Someone with a lot more technical expertise than me, Karen admitted, her voice small. I can barely operate that drone. These videos, their professional quality. Sarah scrolled through the messages, her heart racing. Then she stopped. One of the videos showed something that made her blood freeze. Officer Chen, she said quietly, this video, it's not just of our yard. The police officer looked at the screen Sarah was holding out. The video showed Sarah's backyard, but in the background, clearly visible through a window, was the interior of Karen's house. Whoever's doing this, Sarah continued, they've been watching Karen too. They have footage of inside her house. Karen's face went white. That's impossible. I would have noticed, would you? Officer Chen asked. If they're this good at staying hidden, if they've been doing this for almost a year without you detecting them, what makes you think they couldn't watch you too? The terrible truth was beginning to dawn on all of them. While Karen had been so focused on harassing her neighbors, she'd never considered that someone might be watching her as well, someone who had been documenting everything, someone who now had evidence of Karen's illegal surveillance activities, someone who had just revealed themselves by sending videos to Sarah. The question was, why now? And what did they want? Sarah's phone buzzed again, but this time it wasn't a video. It was a text message from an unknown number. Meet me at the old playground at Riverside Park in 1 hour. Come alone. You want answers about who's been watching your family? Officer Chen read the message over Sarah's shoulder. Absolutely not. This could be dangerous. But they have footage of my children, Sarah said, her voice strained. They've been watching my family for almost a year. I need to know who it is. We'll set up surveillance, Officer Chen replied. If you're going to meet this person, we're going to be there. Karen, who had been standing in stunned silence, suddenly spoke up. The videos they sent you? Did any of them show the inside of my house? Sarah scrolled back through the messages and found the one that had caught her attention. This one you can see through your kitchen window. Karen watched the footage, her face growing paler by the second. That's from last Tuesday. I was making dinner. But look at the angle. They would have had to be positioned directly across from my kitchen window to get that shot. Officer Chen studied the video. That would put them in the backyard. Tom Henderson, who had been listening to the conversation, stepped forward. Wait a minute. Nobody has access to our backyard except us. We have a 6-foot privacy fence and locked gates. Unless someone was already inside, Miguel said grimly. The implication hung in the air like a thundercloud. Officer Chen immediately got back on her radio, requesting additional units to canvass the neighborhood and check for any signs of unauthorized access to properties. Sarah's phone buzzed with another message. 45 minutes now, the longer. You wait, the more people get hurt. They're watching us right now, Sarah realized. They can see that the police are here. Officer Chen looked around the neighborhood, noting the growing crowd of concerned residents. Everyone needs to go inside their homes immediately. Lock your doors and windows. We're treating this as a potential threat situation. As the neighbors began to disperse, Sarah noticed something odd. While everyone else was hurrying toward their houses, looking worried and confused, one person was moving differently. Marcus Webb, from 52 Maple Street, was walking slowly, deliberately, his phone in his hand. As Sarah watched, he looked directly at her and nodded slightly before disappearing into his garage. "Miguel?" Sarah whispered, grabbing her husband's arm. "Marcus Webb. Did you see how he was acting?" Miguel followed her gaze, but Marcus was already gone. What about him? He was too calm. Everyone else looked scared or confused, but he looked satisfied. Officer Chen overheard. "Marcus Webb. I don't think I've met him. He moved in about 18 months ago," Sarah said, her mind racing. "Right after the Kramers moved out, he's always been friendly, but distant. We've never really gotten to know him. And the surveillance videos go back about a year," Miguel added, understanding dawning in his voice. Officer Chen was already calling for backup to check Marcus Webb's property when Sarah's phone rang. Not a text this time, but an actual call, from the same unknown number. "Don't answer it," Officer Chen warned, but Sarah was already swiping to accept. "Hello, Sarah," came a calm, familiar voice. "I think it's time we talked." Sarah's blood ran cold. She recognized the voice now. "Marcus. Very good. Yes, it's your neighbor, Marcus, the one you've barely spoken to in 18 months, despite living 50 yards away." Officer Chen was frantically signaling for Sarah to keep him talking while she coordinated with the backup units. "Why?" Sarah asked. "Why have you been watching us?" Marcus chuckled, a sound that chilled Sarah to the bone. "Originally, just curiosity. New neighborhood wanted to know who my neighbors were. But then I discovered something fascinating." "What?" "Everyone in this neighborhood has secrets, Sarah. Everyone. And I mean everyone." Sarah could see Officer Chen positioning herself to get a clear view of Marcus's house. That doesn't give you the right to spy on people, doesn't it? You'd be amazed what people do when they think no one is watching. Take your friend Karen, for instance. Sarah glanced at Karen, who was standing frozen beside the police car. "What about Karen? She's been stealing packages from neighbors' porches for 2 years. I have it all on video. She takes them to her house, opens them, keeps what she wants, and throws the rest away." Karen's face went white. "That's not true. Porch camera footage from 17 different package thefts," Marcus continued, his voice carrying clearly through the phone. "All archived and timestamped. Would you like to see?" Sarah's phone immediately received a file containing video. After video of Karen sneaking onto neighbors' porches, taking packages, and hurrying back to her house, "My God, Karen," Mrs. Rodriguez called out from across the street, having heard enough of the conversation. "My grandmother's medication, that was you." Karen looked like she was about to collapse. I only took things that looked like they were junk mail, or things people wouldn't miss, ... Medication for an elderly diabetic woman isn't junk mail." Marcus's voice came through the phone, cold and precise. "But that's just Karen's little hobby. Would you like to know what I found out about the Hendersons?" "Stop," Officer Chen said firmly, taking the phone from Sarah. "Mr. Webb, this is Officer Chen with the city police. You need to surrender yourself immediately." Marcus laughed. "Officer Chen. Badge number 47,851. Divorced 3 years ago. Lives in apartment to be on Oak Street. Your ex-husband remarried last month, didn't he? To your former partner from the force." Officer Chen's face went rigid. "How do you... I know everything about everyone in this neighborhood, officer, including the fact that you've been having an affair with Captain Morrison for the past 6 months." The silence that followed was deafening. Sarah could see the shock and recognition on Officer Chen's face. "That's impossible, Officer Chen," whispered. "Hotel receipts I pulled from your credit card records. Text messages I intercepted. Should I continue?" Sarah felt sick. "You're a stalker, a predator." "I'm a documentarian," Marcus replied calmly. "I document truth, And the truth is that every single person in this neighborhood is living a lie." "What lies?" Miguel demanded, taking the phone back. "Well, let's see. The Patels are running an illegal gambling operation out of their basement. The Johnsons haven't paid their taxes in 3 years. Old Mr. Peterson is growing marijuana in his attic. And you, Miguel, ... double quotes, Sarah's heart stopped. You've been meeting with immigration lawyers for the past 6 months. Seems your work visa situation isn't as secure as you've let your wife believe." Miguel's face went ashen. "Sarah, I can explain." Sarah stared at her husband, feeling like the ground was shifting beneath her feet. "Miguel, I didn't want to worry you. The company's restructuring, and there were questions about my visa status. I've been trying to handle it quietly." "Quietly," Sarah's voice cracked. "We're supposed to be partners. We don't keep secrets." Like this, Marcus's voice came through the phone like poison. "But everyone keeps secrets. Sarah, even you." Sarah's blood turned to ice. "What are you talking about? Should I tell your husband about your lunch meetings with David Chen? Your old college boyfriend, who's now a divorce attorney?" The world seemed to stop spinning. Sarah could feel Miguel's eyes on her, could sense the shift in his posture. "Sarah," Miguel's voice was barely a whisper. "It's not what you think," Sarah said quickly. "David is Jen's cousin. When I found out about your visa issues, you knew." Miguel's voice was hollow. "You've known about my visa problems. I suspected something was wrong when you started working late every night and wouldn't talk about what was bothering you. So I did some research. By meeting with a divorce lawyer, by meeting with an immigration lawyer who happens to specialize in both areas." Sarah's voice rose with desperation. "I was trying to help." Marcus's laughter came through the phone like nails on a chalkboard. "Isn't this beautiful? A marriage built on mutual deception. You were both so busy keeping secrets from each other that neither of you realized I was watching everything." Chen grabbed the phone back. "Enough, Mr. Webb. You are under arrest for stalking, harassment, invasion of privacy, and computer crimes. Surrender yourself now." "I don't think so, officer. You see, I have evidence of criminal activity by half the people in this neighborhood, including police corruption, involving you and your captain." "Are you really going to arrest the person who can expose all of that?" "You're blackmailing people," Sarah realized. "That's what this is about. You've been collecting dirt on everyone, so you can control them." Control is such an ugly word. I prefer community management, and it's been very effective. "Do you know why Karen started her HOA harassment campaign against you?" Sarah felt another chill. "Because you told her to. Because I told her that your family was bringing down property values and that the other neighbors were complaining. I fed her selective information that made her feel justified in escalating her behavior. You manipulated her into harassing us. I manipulated everyone. Karen's theft problem, the Hendersons' financial issues, the Patels' gambling. Officer Chen's after all of it gave me leverage to influence this entire neighborhood." Sarah looked around at the faces of her neighbors, all of whom were standing in stunned silence as their secrets were laid bare. The line went dead, and for a moment, the entire neighborhood stood in absolute silence. Then, like a switch being flipped, chaos erupted. Officer Chen was barking orders into her radio, calling for tactical support and a perimeter around Marcus's. House neighbors were shouting questions and accusations at each other. Karen was sobbing into her hands, and Sarah felt like she was standing in the center of a tornado, watching her world spin apart. Then the lights went out. Every house on Maple Street plunged into darkness simultaneously. Street lamps flickered and died. Even the police car's emergency lights went dark. "EMP device," Officer Chen said grimly, her radio now completely silent. "He's cut all electronic communications." In the sudden darkness, Sarah heard a sound that made her blood freeze, the whir of multiple drones rising into the night air. Not just one or two, but what sounded like dozens of them, their LED lights creating an eerie constellation against the black sky. "He's got a whole fleet," Miguel whispered, moving closer to Sarah. One of the drones descended low enough for them to see it clearly, a much larger, more sophisticated device than the simple consumer model Karen had been using. This one was equipped with speakers, and Marcus's voice boomed out across the neighborhood. "Attention, residents of Maple Street. For the past 18 months, I have been documenting your lies, your crimes, and your betrayals. Tonight, that Documentation goes public. A massive screen descended from Marcus's garage, a projector screen that must have been hidden behind the ordinary garage door. The projector itself emerged from what had appeared to be a normal attic vent, and suddenly the screen was filled with crystal-clear video footage. The first video showed Karen sneaking onto the Patel's porch and stealing a package marked medical supplies. The timestamp showed it was from just 3 weeks ago. "No," Mrs. Patel gasped. "That was my husband's insulin." Karen's sobs grew louder. "I didn't know. I thought it was just another Amazon delivery." The video changed, now showing the interior of the Hendersons' house through what must have been a hidden camera. Tom Henderson was on the phone, clearly agitated. "I know we owe the money," his voice came through the speakers, "but if you garnish my wages, we'll lose the house. Just give us another month." Tom's face went white. "How did you get that? That was a private phone call in my own home." "Hidden cameras," Marcus's voice replied through the drones. "Amazing what you can accomplish with modern technology and 18 months of preparation." The screen changed again, now showing Officer Chen entering a house that clearly wasn't her apartment. Captain Morrison answered the door, and they embraced. Passionately, "That's enough," Officer Chen shouted, but her voice was drowned out by the sound of more drones descending. Sarah realized with growing horror that Marcus wasn't just exposing secrets, he was destroying lives. The footage of the Hendersons' financial problems could cost Tom his job. The evidence of Officer Chen's affair could end both their careers. And Karen's package theft could result in serious criminal charges. But then the screen showed something that made Sarah's heart stop. It was footage of her own living room, clearly taken through their front window. She and Miguel were having an argument, the same argument they'd had 2 weeks ago about Miguel's late nights at work. But the audio had been edited, spliced together to make it sound like they were discussing divorce proceedings and custody arrangements that had never happened. "That's not real," Sarah shouted. "You edited that conversation." Marcus's laughter echoed from the drones. "Does it matter? By tomorrow morning, this footage will be uploaded to every social media platform, sent to every employer, every family member, every friend. The truth will be what people believe, not what actually happened." Sarah felt a surge of rage that burned away her fear. This wasn't just about surveillance anymore. It was about a predator who was willing to destroy innocent lives to satisfy his own twisted need for control. She looked around at her neighbors, all of them standing in the dark, helpless and afraid. Karen was still sobbing. The Hendersons were holding each other, their faces stricken. Officer Chen was trying to restart her radio with shaking hands. And suddenly, Sarah remembered something. "Miguel," she said quietly, "your work laptop, is it in the house?" Miguel nodded, confused. "In the bedroom. Why? It has satellite internet, right? Independent of the local grid." Understanding dawned. In Miguel's eyes, yes. But if he's monitoring all electronic communications, he can't monitor what he doesn't know exists. Sarah turned to Officer Chen. "I need to get to my house. Can you create a distraction?" Officer Chen looked at her like she was crazy. "What are you planning?" "I'm going to beat him at his own game." Before anyone could stop her, Sarah was moving. She sprinted toward her house, staying low and using the parked cars as cover. Behind her, she could hear Officer Chen shouting, something about the Patel's gambling operation, drawing the attention of the drones. Sarah slipped through her back door and made her way to the bedroom in the dark. Miguel's laptop was exactly where he'd left it, and thankfully, it was still connected to the satellite internet through his work VPN. Her fingers flew over the keyboard as she accessed her own social media accounts and every neighborhood communication platform she could think of. Then she began typing the message that would change everything. "This is Sarah Martinez at 47 Maple Street. Our neighbor Marcus Webb has been conducting illegal surveillance on our entire neighborhood for over a year. He is currently trying to blackmail and destroy the lives of innocent families using edited footage and manipulated evidence. The police are on scene, but he has cut our communications. If you know anyone in law enforcement, please send help to Maple Street immediately. Lives are in danger." She posted the message to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Nextdoor, and every other platform she could access. Then she did something even more important. She called Miguel's brother Carlos, who worked for the FBI's cybercrime division in Los Angeles. "Carlos, it's Sarah. I need you to listen carefully and act fast." She quickly explained the situation, giving him Marcus's address and a description of the surveillance equipment. Carlos's response was immediate and professional. "Sarah, get everyone away from that house immediately. If he's got the kind of setup you're describing, he's not just a stalker. He's running a sophisticated criminal operation. We've been tracking similar cases across the country." "What do you mean?" "Identity theft, blackmail, financial fraud, using illegal surveillance as the foundation. This Marcus Webb might not even be his real name. Stay on the line while I coordinate with local law enforcement." Sarah could hear Carlos typing rapidly in the background. Then her blood ran cold as she heard him curse. "Sarah, I'm showing 17 different criminal investigations across 6 states involving a Marcus Webb or similar aliases. This guy has been doing this for years, moving from neighborhood to neighborhood, destroying communities and stealing identities. Stealing identities, financial records, social security numbers, personal information, everything he needs to assume someone else's life after he's done destroying their current one." Sarah felt sick. "He's not trying to expose the truth. He's a criminal. Get out of that house now. Federal agents are en route, but they're 20 minutes away." Sarah ended the call and ran back outside, where she found the situation had deteriorated even further. More screens had descended from other houses, had apparently been using multiple properties as bases of operation. The screens were now showing a rapid-fire montage of footage from inside everyone's homes. But something had changed. Instead of looking terrified and helpless, her neighbors were starting to look angry. "That's enough," Tom Henderson shouted, grabbing a baseball bat from his garage. "I don't care what you've got on us, you're not going to terrorize our families." Mrs. Patel emerged from her house, carrying a cricket bat. 18 months of watching us. 18 months of violating our children. Even Karen had stopped crying and was looking murderous. "You made me into a criminal. You turned me against my own neighbors." Sarah realized that Marcus had made a crucial miscalculation. Instead of breaking the community apart, his revelation of secrets was bringing them together. They were all victims of the same predator, and they were all angry. "Federal agents are coming," Sarah announced loudly. "This Marcus Webb has been running the same scam in neighborhoods across the country. He's a professional criminal." The drones suddenly changed direction, converging on Sarah's position. Marcus's voice boomed out, no longer calm and controlled, but frantic and angry. "You couldn't just accept it. You couldn't just let it happen quietly." "Because you're not God," Sarah shouted back. "You don't get to decide who deserves privacy and who doesn't. You don't get to destroy families for your own sick entertainment." The largest drone descended until it was hovering just feet from Sarah's face, its camera lens focused on her like a mechanical eye. "I gave you all a chance to be honest." Marcus's voice came through the speaker. "I gave you a chance to be better than the people who destroyed my life." "We were never your enemies," Sarah replied, looking directly into the camera. "We were just people living our lives. If you wanted community, if you wanted honesty, you could have just knocked on our doors and introduced yourself like a normal human.